Our three main characters, Dean, JT, and Wes, find themselves in a risky situation at the start of the film. On this Halloween night, they plan to exact revenge on a neighbor who refused to distribute Halloween candy. They light a bag of dog feces that they place on his doorway. But things don't go according to plan, and the neighbor's scarecrow is caught in the fire. They try, but they are unable to extinguish the flame. Dean discovers there is nobody inside the house when he dashes in, because the police and fire department will arrive at any moment. Dean removes his underwear and writes the name Ricky Stanek on it, attempting to shift the blame to a fictional out-of-town child. The group hides in a nearby thicket while authorities investigate the situation. A cop discovers Ricky Stan Nicky's underwear and suspects them of starting the fire. As our naughty trio watches the authorities investigate, JT expresses surprise that their scheme worked. Since then, they have used Ricky Nicky as a scapegoat to justify their actions. Let's fast forward 20 years. The three continue using Ricky Nicky as an excuse to evade life's responsibilities and problems. Dean and his girlfriend Erin are assisting JT and his wife Susan with their baby shower preparations. Dean receives a call from Ricky, who is actually Wes, stating that his testicular cancer has returned and he is alone in Albany, New York. Susan and Erin both tell their partners to go help Ricky. The following scene shows Dean and JT saying goodbye to their partners as they get ready to travel to New York. They meet up with their pal Wes outside, whose car is waiting for them. It comes out that the three made a weekend getaway plan using their made-up pal, Ricky. They are actually boarding a plane with tickets to see Mark rebuild in Atlantic City, New Jersey. After sharing updates as Ricky, they turn off their phones. They write entries to their Ricky, Stan, and Nicky Bible as usual, recording all the adventures they have had in the name of their imaginary friend. After some time, they arrive in Atlantic City and go to a club where they run into Rock Hard Rod. Rod performs funny songs with mature topics as an actor and impersonator. JT, Dean, and Wes are not overly thrilled when he begins to mimic various actors. JT angrily urges Rod to leave them alone when he begins babbling incoherently. After he goes, Dean thinks that they should have been better to him. He then follows Rod and apologizes for his disrespectful behavior. Just then, the imposter recognizes two individuals who are following him. He instantly hands Dean his business card and urges him to call him if they ever need assistance with anything relevant to his area of expertise. He then hides behind a gaming counter and informs Dean that the two men across the table are currently looking for him. He took some money from them, but because he was unable to repay the obligation, they are now out to kill him. Shortly thereafter, Dean turns on his phone and discovers missed calls from his girlfriend. When he contacts her, he learns that Susan, JT's wife, has given birth 6 weeks early, forcing them to return home quickly. They learn that Susan has already given birth to a son named Whitaker when they get to the hospital. Dean hastily fabricates a lie after almost forgetting the specifics of their journey. He clarifies that in order to celebrate being cancer-free for 5 years with his closest friends, Ricky made up the cancer scenario. Since none of their family members have ever met Ricky Stanek, JT's mother-in-law is still dubious of his existence. Next, she recommends that JT invite Ricky to his son Bruce's the circumcision rites of the Jews. Our trio excuses themselves outside because they are about to be exposed, and Wes feels it is time to confess. Dean and JT argue against it. After all, if it is discovered that Ricky does not exist, they will be in big danger. Dean then remembers Rod, the impersonator from their trip, and decides to employ him to play Ricky Stanek. Later, he contacts Rod and begs him to mimic their fictional friend, which Rod easily accepts. In the following scene, the trio arrives at the airport to pick up Rod. On the walk home, they debate the payment they want to make to him, half now and the other half after the work is completed. Rod unhappily consents to this requirement. The Bibles of Ricky, Stan, and Nicky are then provided to him so he can fully imitate and learn the specifics of the character, considering that Wes is the only single person living alone. The group decides to temporarily house Rod in his residence. Rod hasn't come yet, and Dean and JT appear anxious at the hurried wedding. To their amazement, he enters grandly and impresses everyone with his depiction of Ricky, even JT's employer, Dean, and mother-in-law, Ted Summerhays. Impressing Aaron, he even makes a passing flirtation with her cousin Carly and talks business with Summerhays. When JT and Dean inquire as to how he learned to act so naturally, Rod admits that he watches the target character's actions intently. For example, he just finished reading Ricky Stanek's Bible the other night, which allowed him to play their imaginary friend quite well. Rod then recognizes the face of Gary Posner, Carly's ex-boyfriend. They plan to trash the pill in the process. But in the middle of the game, the rabbi unexpectedly replaces Paulina and swallows the pill in her place. He immediately starts to feel sick and sleepy. The rabbi experiences full effects from the ketamine pill during the circumcision service. He consequently only completely circumcises JT's child. Unexpectedly, Ricky intervenes and finishes the process with Summerhays' cigar cutter, to the great comfort and joy of all. The three said goodbye to Rod after the wedding and even gave him extra money because he did such a great job. But the day after, at work, Summerhays declares that he has brought on Rod in anticipation of the company's merger with World River, a significant San Francisco-based enterprise. Summerhays found Rod's commercial acumen to be impressive. This news completely shocks JT and Dean. Rod is setting up his new office when they confront him. Now that he's at last got a decent job, he won't listen to them. His salary is far higher than Dion and JT's, which just makes them angry. At that moment, Dean's girlfriend also shows up, carrying some joyful news. She has secured a reporting position for the Hero of the Week section on a nearby news channel. Ricky had told her about his purported humanitarian efforts at the party, so she's excited to cover him. After that, JT and Dean give Wes a video call to let him know what's going on. Wes tells them that he had intended to tell the truth from the beginning in order to avoid getting into this kind of mess. Rod casually captures Summerhays as he is discussing their market share at a company conference the following day. Dean asks him to give his thoughts on the current business plan in an attempt to get him fired. Rod talks incoherently for a time because he has no idea what the company does. He does, however, conclude by stating that in order to draw in repeat business, they must operate more like a non-profit. Impressed, Summerhays takes Rod's offer to launch a non-profit organization. In fact, he names him to lead the Global River merger in Dean's place. Rod is soon spoken to in Dean and JT's office, where they continue to put pressure on him to quit. That's when Wes shows up, looking dapper in a suit. He emphasizes that he now has a genuine job when he announces that Rod has employed him as his assistant. Wes clarifies that JT and Dean never assisted him in finding work. Angry, Dean drags Rod into the storage area and begins to beat him. He also admits that his lover is crafting a narrative about his fake life and makes threats to expose him. The imposter clarifies, nevertheless, that he is unable to return to New Jersey because his creditors will kill him. When Dean hears this, he begins to cry and thinks back on his own issues. He acknowledges that he felt bad for lying to his fiancée about Ricky and expresses anxiety that she would break up with him once she finds out how much of a liar he is. With the possibility of losing both his work and his relationship with Aaron, Dean is filled with hopelessness. Once it is revealed who Ricky really is, we discover that Rod has been filming their interaction the entire time when he exits the room. When he gets home later, he makes the decision to tell his lover the truth. Aaron is shocked to learn that he is already lying. She indulges in research as a reporter before crafting an engaging narrative for the public. That's why, when she looked into Ricky, she was shocked to see that he wasn't real. Aaron is quite upset with Dean for deceiving her so many times at a party hosted by World River and Summerhays Company the next day. They intend to. In Premier Ricky's Hero of the Week segment, Dean courageously admits to all of the attendees that Ricky Stan, is a fake. He reveals that when they were younger, he and his closest pals, JT and Wes, made up the character Ricky in order to avoid punishment. Under the guise of having to be with their imagined companion, they persisted in betraying their loved ones. Dean extends his heartfelt regrets and leaves the occasion right away. It makes sense that Summerhays is upset with JT and Dean. The Hero of the Week segment appears on screen at that exact moment. Rod, who is now Richard legally, telling a reporter how he met Dean and how the Ricky Stan Nicky Bible motivated him to change his ways. Barbara Stanwyck relates his story. He tells how he used to be unheard of, making only enough money to buy a few meals a day to survive. But when he met Dean, JT, and Wes in New Jersey, everything changed in his life. At that point, as Summerhays is about to fire Dean, he thanks the new people in his life. The World River executive team enthusiastically endorsed Ricky's employment. Rod's narrative appears to have touched them, and they want to move forward with a merger. Dean and Summerhays join hands to complete the merger since they are both excited to move on with it. After learning the truth about Ricky, Susan sentences JT to a 6-month backyard camping excursion. Erin tells Dean that she has decided to explore and publish the story of Rod's transition into Ricky in the interim. Our hero extends his regrets and begs for her pardon. Even though she knows it won't be simple, she feels better as she listens to the tape of Dean telling her how much he loves and values her. Ricky surprises the three of them back at the party by revealing that Carly is now his fiancée, and they decide to spend the next weekend working together to clean up the environment. A montage of images and films featuring Ricky and his new friends performing different community service projects, such as cleaning up the environment, is displayed as the credits roll. While Wes is celebrating getting published as an author, Carly is seen giving her hair to underprivileged youngsters. Outside, JT is seen cleaning his teeth, while Susan and his infant baby stand nearby to observe. Heartwarming moments like everyone posing happily during Dean and Erin's wedding are also included in the montage. Thanks for watching my videos.